Welcome to, well, that was sad, a podcast about love, loss, and how much I love sad books. I'm your host, English language arts teacher, recovering athlete, and aspiring astronaut, Cameron Hatcher-Day. Today, I want to talk about a book that I just recently finished, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Joining me in this conversation is the person that recommended that I read this book, Rachel Hatcher-Day. Welcome, Rachel. Glad to have you on the pod.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be recording this podcast in our closet.
Yes, well, let's proceed right to our questions. So, first off, what did you think of this book?
I love this book. It's a page-turner. It's funny. It's sad. It's moving. It's good for a trip. It's good to share with your friends. Everyone should read this book.
I feel the same way. This is young adult fiction, but I think everybody can get something from this book. Everybody can enjoy this book. I just made my mom read this book.
Yeah, you did.
Looking forward to hearing what she has to say.
Oh, boy.
In particular, I wanted to finish this book before I saw the movie. The movie just came out recently as well, and the movie was so good too.
Oh, such a good movie.
But still, read the book.
Yes.
So, Rachel, could you give us a little bit of an intro to the book? What's this book about?
Yeah, so this book is realistic fiction, so it's all about Star's life, modern day, but she feels like she has two lives. One at home in Garden Heights, in a city that is unnamed. It's a Black community, and her family lives there. And then she also has a school life at this fancy private school, and that's where she has a bunch of her friends and her academic life. And she then goes through a time in her life when the worlds merge and her two lives merge together.
Right, and just a little more background information about this school, Williamson, the private school. Star and her siblings get sent to this school. They are some of the only Black students at the school, and the reason that their parents decide to send them there is because Star's best friend when she was 10 years old is killed in a drive-by shooting. Yeah. And Star's parents feel that Garden Heights isn't necessarily a safe community for their students to attend school. They don't want to leave the community. They don't want to move away. They feel like they're invested there. But still, Star's mom especially wants her and her siblings to attend school at Williamson.
Yeah.
And between these two worlds, Williamson and Garden Heights, Star interacts with such a wide variety of characters. One of my favorite parts about this book, really, was the depth and variety of characters that Star interacts with. So one of my questions for you, Rachel, who's your favorite side character and why?
I love Big Maverick, who is Star's dad. He has some hilarious stuff to say about Harry Potter, and then he goes right from being so funny to being nurturing and challenging, and they talk about culture and they talk about music, and he and Star just have a really cool relationship, and I just loved all the parts with Mav.
Right, and he's so inspiring and so empowering as well. He never lets Star nor her siblings think down on themselves or think less of themselves for any reason, even when society tells them that they should think less of themselves. One of my favorite side characters is Uncle Carlos.
Yeah.
Uncle Carlos, that's Star's uncle, Star's mom's brother.
Yes.
And he is a little bit wealthier, it seems, in the story. And he works as a detective. He works at a police precinct. And this book has a lot to do with our criminal justice system.
Right.
We see Star interact with the criminal justice system quite a bit throughout the story. Really something that I've heard, one of the main criticisms of this book is its portrayal of police officers and our justice system. So, Rachel, how would you respond to such criticisms?
Well, I think that criticisms to our justice system are valid because our justice system is not perfect, and there are people in our community who are extremely prejudiced or just, your average privileged person who can't see that or don't want to see that, but it's there and it's true. And Star has to deal with a system that is against her.
And it's a system that looks so familiar to readers.
Yes.
It looks so much like the system that we do live in our society, a system that pretty continually privileges the experiences of white men over that of people of color, and in particular, women of color. So one other question that I have for you before we wrap up. This book, if you're just looking at it physically, looks like quite a long book. How would you respond to people who are concerned about the length of The Hate U Give?
I could see that because in the hardback version it is quite large, but it's got really big margins and it is a total page turner. So I wouldn't be worried if you are intimidated by its size. You're going to whip through 100 pages and not even know.
Right. I flew through this book. Mentioning pages, that reminds me, now's a good time to bring up a message from one of our sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Paper. Paper. We're still relevant.
Yes, this podcast is additionally brought to you by the closet in your home. The closet in your home, really useful for things other than storage.
Other than storage, that's right. Podcasts,
Yep.
face masks, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I think now is a good time for us to sign off. So I'd just like to say thank you, Rachel, for joining me to discuss The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. And thank you, listeners, for joining in. We hope that you all read The Hate U Give. Check it out from our La Colina library. Check it out from the public library. Support local bookstores. But read The Hate U Give.
Bye-bye.